I spent around 15,000 simoleons on aesthetics and 5,000 simoleons on functionality. Hello, everybody. My name's Allie, and today we're doing what TikTok bullied me into doing. So, every single time I posted a video of the front of the slot, everybody on TikTok kept reminding me that landscaping exists. But obviously, this is a let's play, more or less rags to riches. So we were waiting until we had some money, and we decided in my last stream that we were going to complete the outside. And we do that more or less today, and we also spend almost all of the 20,000 simoleons that you see on the bottom left there. So I've just gone through and I've shown you the outside there. There is a barn area in the back because our frog prince wanted to be a country caretaker, and who am I to say no to those dreams? So we made that possible with a functional space back there. The barn inside is not done. Wanting it eventually to be like a skill building area. You know, like I find in The Sims, we have like this huge woodworking table, candle making table, all those different kind of skill building things. And I never know where to put them. So the barn is a dedicated space now. And then I also wanted a big wall around the whole thing, partially for the aesthetic of it, partially for the functionality, because as it stands, that door that you see on top of those stairs there functions as an archway. Not an actual door, even though it does look like a door that's just been propped open. And so everybody keeps coming in through my throne room and knocking on my kitchen door, which highly annoying, I find. And then they come in and they start dancing to my radio because they don't have to knock to come in. I don't have to invite them in. And so we needed a door out front. And then these Sims, they're going to have a bunch of kids. I think they have, what, 3 already? And so they're going to want some privacy. They don't want people just like looking into their pool area here and seeing everything and, you know, any like fans of royalty, because these people, they are royals and they are rising nobles actually. And they're doing pretty good, I would say. But that's why I wanted the wall there. I'm not sure if that door functions. I might have to go and place like a normal wall there and then do the different like step downs that you see. After like every 2 tiles there. I just wanted to frame it a little bit. We might add in more entrances too. I'm not quite sure. We kind of got to see how this all plays out in the end and what we change. And so a lot of plants and shrubbery and flowers go out here. I wanted this whole entire thing to look kind of like a natural garden where it's not just like strict shrubbery wherever, strict plants wherever. I wanted it to look like, I guess, more realistic, because when you plant stuff and you do it on each side of your house here, they're not going to be 100% symmetrical, right? Some plants take, some plants don't. So I wanted it to look like that. Here I am. I went over the pros and cons of adding a fence versus a wall, which was not going to work because obviously we need that front door, because we're getting annoyed on stream of constantly having to deal with people coming in and dancing to our radio, because they can just walk in through the archway and decide that they're here now and they're going to use our stuff. And then I struggled for a minute on what to do with the outside of the wall here. It was so plain. It was one big blank wall. So I've added these little like shrubs on the outside. I wanted something that realistically is more or less easy to maintain, because there is a lot of them and there's a lot of gardening. And in real life, you kind of want to do that. Obviously, we don't have to take care of them in The Sims, but sometimes I like to go for the realism of it all. And this build, like just doing the outside, took me about 4 hours. You're looking at 600 times speed, sometimes 700, so that I could get it under like the 40-minute mark, Right now we're sitting at like 22 minutes. So, and I'm happy with that. That seems like a reasonable video to me. I don't want to be putting out, 4 hours worth of content. If that's something you want to see, I can always do that too. But I definitely will not be talking through the whole 4 hours on the video. Thinking about maybe doing, I've seen them, they're like ASMR videos of building in The Sims. And so no talking, just the sounds of the clicking. And I've been thinking about doing that. The sounds of like what happened when you play something, when you buy something, the little ka-ching and stuff here and there. So maybe we'll do that. I don't know. Let me know down below if that's something that you want to see or something that you care about. And so for each of the sides here, I wanted them to look like Swiss sisters, not twins. That's why I'm doing each of them separately. And then I keep going over to that side, the finished one, to kind of give me a reference point of what kinds of things are over there. Because as we were discussing earlier, it's not always going to be perfect on each side of your house if you do a little garden on there. Some plants take, some plants don't. So some similarities, some differences. And then I wasn't quite sure what to do with the outside of that staircase there. So we loaded it up with plants. When in doubt, add more plants. That is my philosophy in The Sims lately. Back here, I wanted to do a greenhouse. Very important to me to have a greenhouse. I'm not 100% sure why. I just think it fits like the barn aesthetic, I guess. So that's what we're doing here. I don't end up finishing the greenhouse in this video. I kind of get the structure of it and there's nothing in it because we're running out of money really fast here. We're not even halfway through this build and we've already used over half of our funds, and we want to leave a little bit so that the Sims that live here can continue to eat. That might be nice. And then having the whole thing be full glass walls, I find it looks a little weird. So I went through and I added like normal wall pieces and they are the same stone texture as the rest of the fence there. And then here I'm adding in a pond. Now this was always a vision for the pond. I wanted a pond. And then I also wanted the wishing well from what's it called? The romantic garden kit, romantic garden stuff. I can't keep them all straight. There's way too many right now. So that was always my vision for this. I always wanted a pond where you could sit and relax. I always wanted that. The wishing well ends up being way too expensive for this time around. So we're going to have to put that in the future. That's why I said more or less done. Still some things I need to add. So I wanted to put these lights there, like you come out here, maybe you're having a little date with your husband or another partner, because we've had some scandals with these people with cheating. So you can come out here, you can watch the swans that we put down and just enjoy nature. Now, obviously, do I think your Sims are going to go do that for fun? No. It's there for the aesthetic. And like I said, we spent about 15,000 simoleons on aesthetic and about 5,000 simoleons on functionality. So that's where the aesthetic comes from. Here, I'm trying to put in a garden. It took me a while kind of to figure out if I liked the look of it or not. Did I want a fence around it? Did I not want a fence around it? I'm just kind of thinking. I do that a lot in my builds where I just sit there for a minute and I'm like, where are we going with this? What do I want with this? So we put in some terrain paint and I layer my terrain paint. So I wanted that base layer to kind of match the plots there. And then adding in some kind of darker spots here and there, like some of it's been turned over, some of it's settled and all of that. And here we are sitting with what do I want to do next? What am I going to tackle? So I know that one of the things that we need is space for kids to be kids, because these Sims are going to have a ton of kids, as we have discussed. So I wanted to make sure there's enough space for that before I go in and I start doing any landscaping and putting anything else down. So I'm just kind of going through debug here. Sometimes I like to pull things out because I'm like, oh, what is this? Like that big giant head statue you just saw. No intention of using it. I guess I'm just a little nosy. And so we're just kind of going through and seeing like, is there anything else right now that I can pull out that I want to use right now? And so there's so much stuff in debug when you don't have the filters on. And so we're going through and we're seeing and we're looking and trying to find stuff. And then I kind of got sick of that and I said, let's lay down some paths to kind of map out the area a little more. And then I was talking about we're going to have a ton of kids. Obviously, we need kids to be kids. So this definitely isn't a formal area, ergo the barn and the barnyard animals. So I wanted them to have a jungle gym in a place where they can go and they can play jungle gym, some swings, and try to make it so that, like, yes, these are nobles, but we're also kid friendly. You know, these nobles, they love their kids. And then I'm trying to figure out how to fit everything I want into this small little space that we have set up for ourselves. Could I have made it bigger? Probably. Did I? No. I end up shrinking the play structure a bit. And I knew one thing, I knew I wanted sand because you can just paint that on there and then your Sims can go make sand castles and stuff in it. So another thing to be kid friendly. Throwing a little fence around it because realistically you don't want your sand all over the yard when it starts to blow, and that helps. That's why sandboxes have a little thing around them. They're a box, you're not just throwing sand somewhere. One thing I did find hard was trying to fit everything that I wanted into that little space. I'll probably go in and add more. And then this is where I've put in some terrain paint to kind of look like you're using the swings. Maybe the sand's been dug out from underneath them from your feet dragging. But it ended up looking green. That is not something that I liked. And then I decided to switch up this and go back to the paths now that we have like the kid area set up here. I'm sitting and I'm like, okay, like what do we need here? I knew I wanted a sitting area outside the pond here. And which one do we use? So this one is actually green, hard to tell in this lighting, but we have gone hardcore on the green theme for this because our husband used to be a frog. We went kissing frogs. We also have an ex-frog fiance, just the type of shenanigans that you get into on stream during a Let's Play, I guess. And then also aesthetics, right? We got to make it look kind of pretty here. We got to make sure that, you know, like if you've seen this in real life, you'd be like, yeah, I could sit there. Maybe you read a book, little drink tray there, make up some drinks. You can sit there, you can watch your kids play, that kind of thing. And just going in, tons of terrain paint on this. I'm really praying that when I log back into the save, it's not all gone because that happens quite often. And I'll be a little bit upset if I have to go through and redo all of this terrain paint. And so I'm looking at it from the different angles because something it's just not hitting. Something is not right. And sometimes it's hard to put your finger on what's not working versus what is working. So I found that the play structure sand was very, very bright. It was looking white out. So we went through and wherever you're going to kick up more sand, I went through and I just put some darker sand down there to give it a little bit more texture, I guess. And then I decided that I hated this fence around this pool area. We didn't need it for privacy anymore. We have those big walls there. And so I've gone through and I put those bushes almost all the way around it. I still wanted you to be able to walk off of the pool area and like go head out to the garden, even though there is an actual ton of arches on this build. And then out here, I've put the trash can and the mailbox because where else am I going to put them? This seems a little realistic, I guess. I guess for nobility, you probably don't have your mailbox just like sitting outside your door there, but this is The Sims. Same thing with your trash, right? Somebody's bringing that directly to the dump, I'm sure. But this is The Sims. And so we're looking at it here, and I know I need more. I need more of something. I'm not sure what I need, though. So when in doubt, throw some plants down. So I'm throwing some trees down here. I don't remember if I keep those trees or not. And then again, sitting here and being like, what do I need? This left area of the house, so blank, and there's nothing there at all, right? The whole thing is filled except for this one singular area. And so I need to figure out how I'm going to finish off the front, because the front, I love the garden areas here. I hate how it just feels so blank. One thing that I did want here, and you saw me do it earlier in the video, was some kind of fountain. Not sure which one I was going to use or not, but so we're going to map out this area, and I wanted a path to go to each of these archways here so you can go in any one, even though there are a ton of openings in this mansion. And then we also have to map out, we're going to put down more landscaping, because when in doubt, add more plants. And so go through, and I wanted these bushes to kind of like line it, I guess, and then have some other like greenery and shrubs around it for the aesthetic. As you'll notice, we are down to 2,000 simoleons. I'm not even sure if I used 5,000 simoleons on functionality. Like maybe the play structure and some seats and the greenhouse. The rest, a lot of it went to the walls around the mansion. That's where a lot of our budget went. And again, I really hope my terrain paint is still there whenever I go back, because that is not going to be fun to have to go in and fix. That happens and you join my stream, you might have to live without terrain paint for a little while. And so I'm trying to decide like what I want here. It looks finished, but it also doesn't look finished. It looks like it's too much, but also not enough. So what's going to tie it together, you may ask? None other but a fountain. So going through and trying to choose which fountain we wanted. I wanted a bigger one. I chose this one. I might go through and put plants like directly around it, I think. I was kind of thinking that here, like, should I do that or should I leave it? I decided to kind of leave it there for now. I'll probably end up adding in plants around it, like some nice little flowers to frame it out, but that's not something that I was rushing to do. We're going to sit with this for now and see how that works out for now. Now you might be thinking, Allie, what are you going to do with this big blank space? It's not big enough to put like a bunch of things in it. Like it's too small to have like any real meaning. So we did it, guess what? For the aesthetics. Yes, correct. I'm trying to figure out a path. I didn't want it to be straight. I also didn't want it to look silly. And I wanted a middle, like, center focus here. Again, this is one of the things that's for the aesthetics. In real life, you could go out here, just like the other one outside the greenhouse there. Come out here and sit, kind of like walk the gardens, as what you see on historical TV all the time. They're going for a walk in the gardens, but to a much smaller scale. I also knew that I wanted a focal point in this too, and that's where that tree is. I tried to make it so it was dead center in the middle of that circle there. And then again, landscaping, landscaping, landscaping. There are so many plants on this, and this is why it took me like 4 hours to build. And so plants. And then we do go through this place. Is it going to be functional for your Sims? No. Does it make it look pretty? Yes. In real life, if you were to come here, would it be functional? Yeah. I would love a little garden oasis to go read a book. I'm reading the second book in Outlander right now. I love the series. It's one of my favorites. I'm thinking about building Lollybrock in The Sims, actually. If anybody here knows about Outlander. And then I don't know what world to put it in. I guess I would put it in the Henford on Bagley, the cottage living world. I don't know. Let me know down below what you think. Also, let me know what you think about all this gardening. There was a time in The Sims for a long time I did not put down any gardening. When the game came out, my first house was one big box and a roof that the pitch was way too high on, and then like a full kitchen along the back wall, and it took up most of the space. So it's fun to look back and kind of think like how I've changed in my build style throughout the years. But this is what it's looking like right now. This little garden oasis here. Tree coming out of the stone looked silly, so I've changed that. Kind of has like a plant pot thing around it. It's a tree. It has a fence. And then yeah, I put some benches there, same ones as before, and they're green frog prints, and then go around and throw some stones down. And some of these stones like are expensive. Like, what do you mean I'm paying $150 for a stone? Like, what do you mean? And then we end up with 13 simoleons left. Like, what are we doing here? And so this is the final look at it. This is just like an aerial overview here. And then we're going to go check it out. So this here is the outside, obviously. And this is what it looks like when you're like coming up into the door. Again, you know, I wanted it to be very regal. Give me some ideas on how to make those half walls not look so blank. Like, should I put on like ivy or the wisteria or something? So like windows maybe, I'm not sure. And then this is the entrance that you see as soon as you walk in. And we wanted this to scream grandiose, you know? These are important people who live here, even though they're broke now. And then just kind of going back in and trying to decide if I like it or not. Again, I think that I might put plants around that fountain, but I had already spent like 4 hours building this. So that is for another day. And so you can come around here and you can go in through those arches, or you can come walk the gardens. Maybe pick some flowers, put them in your hair, make a flower crown. I don't know what you'd do in real life. I would go there and I would read. And then this is just a quick overview of what like this pool area looks like now. We didn't do too much other than we took the fence out and we added the flower bushes there. Come back here, and that's our lovely little barn area and training grounds. Right ahead is the training grounds. We have a little picnic area there. Like a bunch of the nobles' husbands are coming to train, and they're going to have a picnic and watch. And then that was the barnyard area there and that fence. And then this is the backyard that we've completed here. I really like how this looks. I think that once we get the greenhouse completely operational, I guess, that I'm going to love this back here. Right now, the greenhouse looks empty and bare because it is empty and bare. These are the little swans that are going to like just kind of swim around in the pond there. And then over here is where you would sit. You could watch the kids play over here from these benches. And that's the kind of where you'd look to watch the kids play. I have a nice little drink tray there. You know, functionality in real life, right? And then this is our bare bones, absolute bare bones greenhouse. I'm not sure when I'll tackle it. I want it to be soon though. So next time we go live, we'll try to save up money and then I'll try to post another video on this. And then this will be the little garden area here. Still not sure if I'm going to put a little fence around it or not. I'm still kind of deciding that. But let me know how you liked this and let me know what else that you want to see here. And come join my live. I'm live on most Sundays and Wednesdays. My schedule is going to be changing here soon. But let me know what you want to see. All right, everybody. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, evening, night, wherever you are, whenever you are watching this. And remember to stay hydrated.